Hello and welcome to this tutorial. So this is working through the Scriber, which consists of two parts, a handle, which is on sheet 2, and this will be a loft with a hole, and then a shaft. So let's start out with the actual shaft. So if we look at here in isometric, it's a cylindrical thing that looks like a hook, and then it goes to basically a point. So we've been learning about sweeps and lofts. So what we'll do is we'll do a circular sweep, circular profile along this path to this point. Then we'll use this end point, or this end surface here as a circle, and we'll loft that circle to a point, which is right here at the end. So that's what will get us our point. If we look at our other end, we have basically a series of notches around. There's 15 of them at a diameter of 0.5. And if we look at how things are dimensioned, it looks like this cut is tangent to a 3.5 millimeter diameter circle, whereas the outer dimension of our shaft is 4. So let's go ahead and dig in to that. So we'll start out, so we need a path and a profile. So I'm actually going to start out with a profile to start. So I'm going to draw a circle and dimension it to 4, because that's what the size of that shaft is. And I'm on the right plane. Again, I need to be fully defined. And then, so we'll quickly look at our planes. So now what I'm going to do is on our front plane, I'm going to sketch that shape of the actual scriber. So again, a space bar gets me to the orientation, and we go normal 2. I'll now turn my planes back off, so I know where I am with my origin. So now we'll draw a line. So we have an arc and then another arc, basically. So that is our basic shape. And now let's go ahead and dimension it. So let's add our dimensions now. So we know from the drawing that this length is 125. So because everything is scaled, again, typing the F key will get us to fit our sketch to the screen. So now we'll go with, so the diameter is called out on the drawing, so we have a radius. So we'll put an 8 there, and then we have a diameter here again. And again, if you want to change from a diameter to a radius, we go into liter, and we get, so you can go back and select your old dimension and get those actual diameters in there. So we have 10 and 16. So if we look at the drawing, it doesn't look like our center point is aligned with our center line there. But what it looks like is that this point, so this side of our arc and this side are actually straight through the center point. So let's go have a look and see how we can do that. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a center line in here and connect those 2 points, and then I want to put the center of that arc and that line. So I'm control selecting the line and the center of the arc, and we're just going to make those coincident. So that should get us that information, and now we have one last dimension. So we're not fully defined yet because we don't know where in space, and we have that other dimension that is the 135. So now we have a fully defined sketch, and we'll accept that. So now we have our profile and our path. So if we control select both of them and then go over to that swept boss, it's already in there. You can click OK. So now what I want to do is create this loft where I'm going from this to a point. So what the first thing I want to do is I want to basically create a plane offset from this surface. So just by clicking on that face, I can now type in the offset, which if we look on the drawing is 15. So now that we have a plane, we're going to create a sketch on it. So I select the plane, go to sketch, and now I want to go normal to. So this is kind of an unusual sketch because we're normal to the face, which isn't necessarily normal to the actual. And what I want to do is I just want to create a point. So I can just create a point in a sketch, and then if I control select the point and the circle, I can make them concentric. So that concentric point is what we will loft to. So for my loft, I need two sketches. So again, I'm sketching on this surface, and I just use that convert entities. So that's just pulling in that profile on that surface. So now I have two sketches. I have the circle and I have that point. That's the specified distance away. So if I control select both of them and do a lofted base, I have my point on it. So this plane is kind of big and ugly now. So I can just go ahead and quickly hide that. So make sure you're saving as you go. And now what we want to do is we want to draw one of those cuts on this back end. So let's go ahead and sketch. So I think we've talked about this a little bit, but we want to create one cut as a feature and then pattern the feature, not patterning the actual cut, or not patterning the sketch, but patterning the feature. So I'm going to start out with drawing a circle of that 3.5 diameter, and then I'm going to change that to a center line. So just by clicking on it, I can do the construction geometry, and that just helps me identify exactly where. So I want to draw a circle that is 0.5 diameter. And now what I want to do is I want to make that tangent. So I can control select both those circles and make them tangent. So now that puts that circle on. And now what I want to do is I want to just make those center points by control selecting those two center points. And I want to make them vertical. So that looks pretty good. And I want to make sure I'm fully defined. So then I cut that 30 deep. And we're good. So now what I can do is I'll do a circular pattern. So sometimes it's easier to select what you want to pattern first and then go in there and do the circular pattern. So now my feature's in there. Now it's asking me for a pattern axis. So I can just choose that round shaft and it'll pattern it right around that. So, and we wanted 15 according to the drawing. So that's just a feature that looks like it'll help hold on that handle. So go ahead and save, and there we have a 4 feature Scriber handle. So let's start a new part, and we will turn on our planes. So let's look quickly at what we're drawing here. So this drawing is made purely from producing it in SolidWorks, not a perfectly crafted drawing for actually getting made. So what I'm showing here is we basically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 profiles, and we're going to loft them. So our first profile is a square. Our second profile is another square, and both those squares are 30 by 30. Then the next one is a 27 diameter circle. Then we go to a 35 by 35, then a 33 by 33, and then an 8 by 8. So we will create each one of these profiles on a plane, starting from our base plane, and then we're going 5, 20, 40, 80, and 105. So we have to make all these planes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more planes off of one of our reference planes at these distances, and then we draw these simple sketches. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have a new part, and let's try and actually replicate it exactly like it is here. So we're going to start our sketch on this right plane. So again, to make planes, we go into the plane on features. Our first reference point is that plane, and we're going to make it actually go, we're going to flip that so it goes the opposite way, and that first plane is 5 off the first. And then we'll select that plane again, that right plane to start, because everything is referenced off of it. So let's do 20, and we'll accept that one off that right plane again. Now we're going 40. So again, if you can, always try and use the same references that the drawing is using so that you are going in the same way, and those dimensions in the drawing should be consistent with how you want the actual part to be made and also measured. So 105, and we need to flip that last one. So now we have all those planes. So now it's just a matter of putting each one of those different sketches on each plane. So what you should be doing is putting each one of those cross sections on each one of your planes. So we have the square as the start, change to a circle, then a slightly bigger, slightly smaller, and then ending up on that small 8 by 8 square at the very end of the handle. So now what we would need to do is just create our loft. So let's select them all. So shift select all of those in your feature tree, and then do your boss or your loft. So what you'll notice is that things are kind of weird because we're not referencing the same points. So you want to be getting these points basically at the same starting point. And what that'll do, so these are basically providing that curve. So once these are all basically the same corner of your rectangle and somewhere close in your circle, you will get that form that's created in that drawing. So that's just lofting between those. So we'll do it the other way, where we're selecting sketches, And the point at which you're selecting each sketch is where your green dot, your profile start is. And that looks pretty good. So now you can turn off those other planes. Now the last thing to do is to just add that hole that we use as basically our reference for our shaft, and that hole is 3.5. So you can use Hole Wizard if you want, but since it's just a simple hole, it's 3.5 by 30 deep. So that's the handle. So go ahead and save, and we will now create this into a assembly. So we open up our assembly, and we'll choose the handle as our fixed part. We'll put that in. So again, we're fixed. Now we want to insert a component. We want to insert that second part. All right, so now we select our shaft and we select our hole, and we'll mate them. So that's a control select that we were doing, and we'll do concentric. I'm not choosing lock rotation because I want to actually orientate using the planes. So if we come in here, we can choose the front plane of our handle, and I want the front plane of my scribe to be the same. So should green tick that. So now it won't rotate, but it still can go in and out. So basically we can either select the bottom, or we can we'll select this face and this face. So I want to be choosing faces over edges, and there you have it. So we've assembled that scribe. If we look, we're fixed with the F, and there's no minus sign, so we're fully defined. So that's the loft and the sweep to make this kind of organic, funky handle and a very unusual scribe, but a sweep to a lofted point. Thank you.